Hi everyone. Before I get started, I'd like to make it clear that editing for the next video is well underway. I haven't been too vocal about its production, but I thought I'd make it clear that it's being worked on. It'll probably be up sometime in the middle of April, because it's shaping up to be a long one. Anyway, enough channel updating for now, because I'd like to talk about a topic that's insanely fascinating to me. Plants vs. Zombies is an absolute classic. That's fairly obvious by this point. It's gotten a billion ports, the Steam chart still regularly hits several thousand despite being a single-player game from 2009, and it even has higher player numbers than the actual multiplayer entries. But for some reason, if you want to play the game on a modern system, Xbox One and Series consoles are literally your only bet because outside of the crappy mobile port with ads and microtransactions, and the really outdated PC version that's still being sold, the 360 version is backwards compatible and can be played easily on Xbox. The PS3 and Vita also got ports, but those are basically abandonware nowadays. I have it on my modded PS3, but you can't actually buy it anymore since it got delisted. Point is, your options for PvZ1 are either mobile, PC, or Xbox. Or is it? You might think I'm crazy, but there is another. No, I'm not talking about the fucking DS version. I'm trying to convey that a PlayStation 4 version of the game exists as a piece of software that was at one point sold on the PlayStation Store. The only proof I can find anywhere on the internet is two gameplay videos posted to YouTube, one on PS4 and one on PS5, both by a user named Bondin. According to them, this version of the game was seemingly available for a very short period of time on the PlayStation Store in Malaysia for 80 ringgits or $20 US, and was even included with EA Play at one point if this screenshot is anything to go by. The second upload of them playing it on the PS5 says that it's been delisted in every country except for Canada and Southeast Asia, but even then that doesn't seem to be the case because I went to those respective PlayStation stores on the website and only Battle for Neighborville seems to pop up with no PvZ1 in sight. Maybe the website just changes the language and it's still showing me stuff available in America through my location, I'm not entirely sure. Another thing the PS5 upload shows is Bondin actually having the game in their cart on an alternate account and purchasing the game with a credit card. Now it is worth noting that the icon in the screenshot I showed before and this art in the PS5 upload is different, although I do have a theory on that. The first screenshot was taken on a computer, not a console. Second, it was on the previous PSN web store before the major revamp in 2021 took place, where Sony removed the ability to purchase PS3 and Vita content outside of their respective consoles. I don't own a PS4, so there could be a possibility that either the old website design and the consoles showed different pictures from one another, or EA updated the game at one point and changed the art. Why? I have no fucking clue. Other than these two uploads in their respective comment sections, the only other piece of information I can find on the matter is an EA support thread from 2021 discussing those two YouTube videos. This entire situation is insanely confusing, because on one hand, there's a decent chance this could be an elaborate hoax by Bondin. However, the footage in both videos looks really fucking legit, having a specific copyright date, using an updated PopCap logo, and removing the old Sony logo that was present in the old PS3 and Vita version. Not to mention, he shows off trophies in the PS5 upload. I don't know if you can view PS3 trophies on the PS5 or not, so this could be fake too, but goddammit, I'm convinced. Other than these videos and that EA support thread, there isn't a single other piece of information about the supposed PS4 version anywhere on the internet. Despite Bondin having over 1 million subscribers and posting 2 videos on the subject, it remains elusive. Maybe EA made the port but shelved it at the very last minute because they didn't have any faith in its success, who knows? From what I can tell, it's mostly finished. It still uses most of the same button prompts from the PS3 version, but it does replace the start icon with an options button icon to match the PS4. Bondin also clicks the icon for the PSN items that were sold for this game back in the day, but since those aren't on the PS4, clicking this flower just brings up an ad for EA Play. If this were released, it would either be replaced or removed, proving my suspicion that this isn't 100% finished, and was probably released by accident, which is how some people got hold of it, even though Bondin is the only one to go public about it. If this were fake, Bondin put way too much effort in. I'm convinced this is legit. As for why EA would throw it in the trash when it's almost finished, we can only really speculate on that. There's a decent chance that EA would rather get people to buy Battle for Neighborville and boost the player numbers instead, because by late 2020 when this port was seemingly scrapped, that game was still getting updates and a Nintendo Switch port would arrive a few months later in 2021. EA does have a history of not giving a fuck about older games in a series with an ongoing entry. Titanfall's Steam release was an absolute shit show because that game was infested with bots for years at that point, so EA just delisted the Steam version outright instead of fixing it, because fixing it would give people less of a reason to play Apex Legends, which is EA's live service cash cow and is also developed by Respawn. Maybe it was because EA didn't think it would be profitable enough to release? By 2020, EA was a year late when it came to PvZ's 10th anniversary, so it wouldn't have been very smart timing, I suppose. Maybe PopCap was making this port on the side in 2019 around the time Battle for Neighborville released, potentially alongside ports for Xbox and Nintendo Switch, although that's being very hopeful. This was late 2020 as well if we're judging by Bondon's first upload of the PS4 version, so there's a decent chance that development hit a major roadblock when the coronavirus kicked in Q1 of 2020. Porting games isn't as simple as copy and pasting shit onto another console. I'm not a programmer, but even I know it's more than that. If porting really were that simple, we'd have this version easily available and this video wouldn't even exist. My theory is that COVID stagnated development of the port and they didn't get it done until later in 2020, over a year after the 10th anniversary of the game. EA probably didn't think it would be profitable and shelved it, but not before accidentally putting it up in certain countries for a very short period of time, and before they could pull it, some people including Bondon got their hands on it, and Bondon is the only one that has gone public about owning it, and probably doesn't even know what went on behind the scenes. I could be completely wrong though, because this is speculation. Could this version be released again someday? Maybe. It's not like EA hates their old catalog or anything. They remastered the Mass Effect series, Dead Space got a full remake, and they still sell their old games on their original storefronts, and a lot of them, including PvZ1, are backwards compatible on Xbox. Maybe EA is just sitting on this version of the game, waiting for a good time to release it. Maybe they have new versions for Xbox, Switch, or even PC lying around too. Or maybe Bondon is one of the greatest trolls of all time and perfectly crafted a hoax like this for shits and giggles. I honestly do hope this version eventually sees the light of day. Plants vs. Zombies is a timeless gem of a game, and it's not exactly the easiest to play in a good fashion nowadays. So for the time being, where can you buy this game until EA puts out new ports? Well, there is the mobile version on iOS and Android that's free, but there's constant ads and they've of course added microtransactions. This is also the version of the game with those weird bobble-headed zombies that looks like trash, so I would avoid this version unless you have no other option. EA still sells the PC version on Steam and Origin for $5, and at this point Steam keys can be found for dirt cheap, and several times a year it goes on sale for $1. This sounds like the de facto version, but it's very outdated, only running at 800 by 600 resolution and a 4:3 aspect ratio. It's absolutely ancient and it runs in such a tiny window. There's also the PS3 and 360 version I mentioned that's backwards compatible with the Xbox One and Series consoles. This version has widescreen support, runs in HD, has exclusive minigames, and versus and co-op multiplayer. It does feel odd playing this game with a controller though. This game just begs for a touchscreen or mouse. The Vita port is excellent as it basically has all the advantages of the 360 with the added benefit of touch controls. The PS3 and Vita versions can't be legally purchased anymore, although if you still have either of those systems they're probably modded already, and if they're not, you're wasting your time not modding them. As for Xbox, it got a physical release, but on the Xbox Store it's only $5 just like the PC version, and it's included with EA Play and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. As you can tell, since each version of the game has their own set of downsides and there really isn't a definitive version that you can actively buy, this entire situation is a giant fucking mess. There really isn't a clear winner when it comes to the readily available ports. I know I said the Vita was technically the best out of all of them, but you need a modded Vita to play it nowadays and it can't be fully emulated on PC yet. I hope EA eventually revisits this game because it stood the test of time far better than any other entry and has higher player numbers than Battle for fucking Neighborville. Either that or this abandoned PS4 version will remain in the digital abyss as lost media for the rest of time.